Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about how to play the Bloodtithe team. Now it doesn't matter how to play this team because no matter how bad you are at this game, you will obliterate with this team no matter what. But this video is gonna be about how to play this Bloodtithe team to its maximum efficiency and why exactly this is the best roster and so on and so forth. So let's jump in and first of all explain. We're gonna jump into battle as well, but first of all let me explain you and show you one more time the most important thing about this entire team, which is the 50% HP threshold. Why is this 50% HP threshold so important and what exactly makes it a must play and why it is so good? We can break this down, starting off with Semmelweis, who simply stacks up on healing taken. If you're at 50% HP, this is healing taken increased by 32% in total. Then Medicine Pocket heals your entire team every single turn twice for 0 AP, and whenever he does so, then he provides you with stacks of sturdiness, which makes the next incoming attack be reduced by 25% when it comes to damage. Medicine Pocket, by the way, also stacks up on healing taken, and yeah, it maxes out when you are at 50% HP. So there's that. Now onto the very crazy part though, and that crazy part starts with Eternity. This is a big part why she's a must play in this team, and she cannot be replaced before Sentinel joins the game in version 3.0. Why is that? Because you can see here that when you are at the start of the round at the 50% HP threshold, all of that counts for all of your allies, by the way, then every ally who is at 50% HP stacks up on damage taken reduction to 25%. That already, if we count this, right, for every single ally, this is already 100% less damage taken across all of your team. That's absolutely incredible already. But now check this out. When an ally attacks, for every 10% that this ally is missing, he grants himself critical hit rate and critical damage. If you're at 50% while you attack, then you have an increased critical hit rate of 20% and your crits do 30% more damage. It gets better, it doesn't even stop here, because if you're at 50%, then the excess critical hit rate that you have is converted to critical damage. That is such a massive giga value that no one really seems to grasp, but here is showing it to you. But this is not the end of the story at all, because now let's jump into our main DPS and talk about what Nautica does. Nautica has an ability called Mother Spirit's Guidance, which also stacks up on healing taken, caps out at 50%, of course. Oops, my bad. Then she, with her incantation number 1, this one right here, she grants a stack of adversity to all of her allies for 3 rounds, which basically translates to all of your allies will constantly have this 100% of the time, no matter what. And what it does, it gives you plus 20% damage taken reduction and damage bonus. There you go. Now count all of this together and realize that all of this stacks and what a tremendous amount of value you would lose for just simply not playing around this 50% HP threshold. We are looking at here at 125% damage taken reduction. All of the incoming damage for all of your entire team is more than cut in half. We are looking at 20% critical hit rate. We are looking at 30% critical damage just alone from Eternity. We are looking at over 100% healing taken. We are looking at a damage bonus from 20%. We don't even need to worry about stacking anything too much here, right? Because even the critical hit rate, it gets converted to critical damage, and everything else can be stacked way above 100% to infinity basically. And this is why you have to play Nautica around the 50% HP threshold, and this roster right here is the only roster in the game that makes this possible. You will not accomplish this with Flutterpage and Fatutu, and I'm not even mentioning that you can't fill the Bloodtithe with these characters, which also is tremendously important to get the maximum efficiency out of Nautica's ultimate, which she will use every 2 rounds. And it is, by the way, the biggest part of her kit. There's no more damage coming from any source of Nautica than her ultimate. You will see this when we jump in battle. So you have to play Medicine Pocket, because Medicine Pocket, not only does he stack damage taken reduction, which is of course what you absolutely need if you are constantly at 50% HP. You don't want to die, so you need damage taken reduction. Additionally, he doesn't even start healing before your characters fall under 50% HP, so it makes it much more convenient with him to play around this 50% HP threshold. If your characters are above 50%, he provides shields, and these shields, by the way, they get bigger and bigger and bigger the more healing taken is stacked upon all of your characters, and we already figured out that we stack a shit ton of this exact healing taken received, right? Then Eternity, not only do you need to fill the Bloodtithe with her, this is what a lot of people think, and she doesn't fill the Bloodtithe to an incredible amount, but they forget completely, they maybe don't even know about what kinds of things she stacks here to such a degree just by playing around this 50% HP threshold. And she also makes it happen that you are able to deal damage to your own characters, which again makes it more convenient playing around this 50% HP threshold, which is the most important part about this entire team. She provides 20% critical hit rate to your entire team, plus 30% critical damage and 25% damage taken reduction. Like, Jesus Christ, Eternity is an absolute monster in this team. Then again, Semmelweis, yeah, she doesn't do too much concerning these things, but she's still very important, because her job is to keep that array alive and provide your team with a lot of damage due to her extra actions that she provides at the end of every single turn, and she fills the Bloodtithe as well, because Nautica and Semmelweis both have the ability that whenever an ally takes damage, which Eternity will do, and Medicine Pocket also to some degree, then if an ally takes damage, the Bloodtithe is filled by Nautica and by Semmelweis. Now we figured out why these characters are must plays in this team, why this is the best roster, why it is so important to play around the 50% HP threshold. Now it's enough talk, and we can look at how things look in battle and figure out the rotations in action. Here we are. So the first thing you have to notice is that Nautica does not have Moxie. She has something called Faith. You gain access to Faith by actually filling the Bloodtithe. If you fill the Bloodtithe enough, you can manage to gain her ultimate up on round 2, and that is what you usually aim for if you want to rush down a battle. So how does the rotations actually look like? The very first thing that you're always gonna do is you provide the buff from Semmelweis to Nautica. You can see that this gives Semmelweis now 5 Moxie, and she will deploy her array thanks to using her ultimate at the second turn already. Now it is all about filling the Bloodtithe and gaining access to the Faith so that Nautica can use her ultimate at round 2 as well. How are we gonna do that? We're gonna have to deal damage to ourselves. And the way we will accomplish that is by, of course, using Eternity, but also Nautica herself deals damage to her when she uses her abilities. She also gains stacks of Hige that increase her maximum HP, which makes her deal more damage. But you can see this, you can read everything, and everything that she does actually makes her lose HP, which fills the Bloodtithe. And that's what we want to do the most. You see, every single attack that we do makes our own team, makes our own allies take damage, and that will fill not only the Bloodtithe, but it will give stacks of Faith to Nautica. So if everything goes according to plan, which it mostly always does, there's pretty much nothing that can go wrong here, then Nautica has her ultimate unlocked at turn 2. Same for Semmelweis, as you can see right there. And now is where things get, a little bit interesting, because you have to have certain conditions fulfilled to get the maximum amount of damage out of Nautica's ultimate and end pretty much every single battle in this game at turn 2. What are those requirements? There are 3. You need to have Nautica at 50% HP or less. You can see this requirement is already fulfilled. Now there are 2 more things. You want to have the buff applied to Nautica from Semmelweis. And you can see here, this buff from Semmelweis is called Fresh Blood. Nautica already has this on her. We don't need to reuse it this round. Okay, she's at 50% HP or below, and she has the buff from Semmelweis. Now, the third condition that you want to accomplish is that you use the debuff from Medicine Pocket, which reduces the critical defense from the enemy by 30% and makes our crit deal 40% more damage thanks to his Euphoria update. And of course, as you can see here, damage taken is also decreased by 20%. This is always a debuff that you want to have, and those are the 3 requirements. 50% HP or below, buff from Semmelweis, debuff on the target with the most amount of HP left on the enemy from Medicine Pocket. There you go. Now, how do you continue? The next thing you do is you open up Semmelweis's array, which will also deal damage to all of your allies, and this increases the odds that everyone is actually at 50% HP threshold or below, and not just Nautica. Then what you're gonna do next is you will deal as much damage as you possibly can without healing yourself. The best way to do this is to use Eternity. You apply another debuff, you deal damage to your entire team with Eternity. An even better option would be to use incantations with Nautica herself instead of the ones with Eternity. But as you can see, I don't have those available right now, so I'm going to use Eternity to reduce everyone's maximum HP to increase my odds of having everyone at 50% HP or below to benefit from all these stacks and all these buffs that we talked about earlier. And now that we have all conditions fulfilled to deal as much damage with Nautica's ultimate as possible, we're gonna yoink it, because this thing is actually called Divine Yoink. And there you go. This is now a process that will always just repeat itself. You don't have to use the buff every single turn from Semmelweis, but everything else stays the same. You just repeat this exact process all the time. And that's how you play the Bloodtithe team. Let's let all of these animations play out. And then one enemy will respawn and we will go for another turn to talk about things one more time, or maybe there's an additional thing that pops up. We will find out. But look at this. You see, this filling of Bloodtithe was already enough. This is what you use the turn 1 for. Fill the Bloodtithe. Not to necessarily even fill the Bloodtithe. It's more about producing the faith so that Nautica can have her ultimate at the second round. And you see, this turn right here, you treat it just like the first turn that you ever played. You check fresh blood. This is still up for 1 round, so I don't have to use it this turn. But I have to be aware that I will have to use this next turn. So what are you gonna do this turn? You gonna aim to fill the Bloodtithe as much as possible. Again, not to fill the Bloodtithe necessarily, but more so to produce faith for Nautica, so that again, next round she can use her ultimate. And that's about it. Now you can see that I don't have any incantation available with Eternity. Those are pretty key. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna reroll and I'm gonna hope that I get, there we are, that I get some incantations with Eternity. That's about it. Then I'm gonna debuff the enemy with Eternity. Then I'm gonna use Nautica as much as I possibly can, and then I wing it from here and do whatever I think would be necessary. I think this turn healing myself up a little bit would be kind of beneficial, but it's not really needed considering that we only have one enemy, right? With this team it is a little bit harder to play than other teams, because not because it is necessarily extremely complicated or anything, but you have to adjust what you do a little bit to what content you face and what your enemies are up to as well. But yeah, you don't really have to worry about dying, because you are maybe always scared because your HP seems low, but the HP is actually not low, because not only does Medicine Pocket heal and shield every single turn twice, but you have like over 100% of damage reduction stacked up, right? Don't forget about that. In case you would get scared, then you can use Medicine's Pocket Heal Incantation, like right now or something. In this case here, since I'm able to use 5 characters, I could use Fatutu, but yeah, that would be cheating. So don't worry about anything and just always go nuts.
That was certainly a choice.
You will survive, even though you look frail because your HP is low, but that is an illusion. Because of all the things that you stack up, and because Medicine Pocket will keep you alive anyways. See, we filled the Bloodtithe now to over 20 again, and this will mean that Nautica will have access to her ultimate again, and every 2 turns she's able to use her ultimate. And you saw what kind of tremendous damage that ultimate did, and that's really about it. When it comes to how to play the Bloodtithe team, it's really that simple. You now also, you see that you have 2 different options to choose when it comes to Nautica's incantation number 2. You always go for the attack incantation, you never go for the counter incantation. The counter incantation is for this kind of niche scenario, although I know for most people this is not actually niche, but yeah, for me it is. That is an incantation that you would use when you play the Bloodtithe team with Nautica, Semmelweis, Flutterpage and Fatutu. So that is what we're gonna cover as well really soon. To end this video off, let's take a look at the Psychubes for each and every one of those characters. Starting off with Nautica, she will carry her signature Psychube called Embrace the Past. This gives you flat HP. When you enter the battle, your max HP is increased by 50%. When the carrier takes damage, then critical hit rate is increased by 2%, and this can stack up to 16 times. When you are at below 80% HP, which you will always be, and you have at least 50 max Bloodtithe, then your critical damage is increased by 48%. Cool, that's by far her best in slot. Then Semmelweis is gonna take the Psychube, the 3rd commitment. It gives you flat HP, which is very important for Semmelweis, as she increases the max HP from her allies, depending on how much max HP she has. And then the array deployed by the carrier grants 12% incantation might and 12% ultimate might. That is nothing groundbreaking, but nonetheless, this is still the best in slot Psychube for Semmelweis right now, as she's all about deploying her array. Then for Eternity we have 2 options in my opinion. The signature Psychube for Semmelweis called From the Depths takes the cake, because it grants you a revive, it gives you flat incantation might, and the incantation might increases further and scales throughout the game while you use incantations, and you do this every single turn. You use a lot of incantations with Eternity. Having a revive is also very beneficial, and this grants you more incantation might than any other Psychube would, and this is why I call this the best in slot here by far. But Eternity got a new Psychube called Night After Night, and this gives you ultimate might. When the carrier is below 80 HP, which you will always be, then you gain damage dealt plus 6%, and when the carrier is not afflicted with a debuff, then you increase your incantation might. So you decide for yourself which one you take. If you want my recommendation, I think the Psychube called From the Depths is by far the best here. Last but not least, we have Medicine Pocket, and that is very simple, as he takes that Inquisitive Deer, which every time you use a debuff incantation, which is by the way the only incantation you would ever use with Medicine Pocket, it's the only thing you even use, and if you use it, you provide a little bit of heal to your team, and the healing done, which he stacks a lot and which he's all about, is also increased by 18%, so this is by far the best in slot for him, and there you go. Take care of yourselves, have a great day. I hope this video was fun and informative, but until next time, don't forget to join the Discord server, stay safe out there, and we love this game.